Welcome, dear friends. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Paco again, and welcome to the 6th episode of our food talk. And today we have a double guest. We have Clara and Alina from Berlin, Germany, and they are the founders of Wefeast, offline event for food and sex enthusiasts. It's something very new for our little program of food talk. So I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome, Clara and Alina.
Thank you for having us.
And how are you today? In this sunny Berlin, I see.
Yeah. Really good.
All good? Yes, nice.
Yeah.
And I will try to be fast because I know you're very busy, so I don't want to steal too much time from you. And so can you just please introduce yourself and tell something about, telling us something about how did you start working with food, to use food as a tool for your work? Who feel like to start?
You start like presenting yourself, and then I continue and I start with the project.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe just very briefly, my name is Alina.
And yeah. So I'm Clara, and we met at the Tantra Festival in India, in Goa, in 2020, and we really connected about the fact that we did not really connect how Tantra was being taught at that time. Was a bit too dogmatic, a bit like too rigid, and so we wanted to create something that's really appealed to us and like an event that we would have loved to attend ourselves. So we created Wefeast, that it's a sex positive event where we use food as a medium for self-exploration. So, and from the very beginning, we really wanted, like how it started is that we really wanted to create this Tantra container offline with people that we cherry-picked and select, and we started to think about what kind of food we wanted to have, and like quite quickly we realized that we did not want it to have like a normal like hummus and carrots and this normal buffet that you have in many events. And so we started to dig that more and more, and we realized, oh my god, actually like food is a spectacular, like really subtle and deep way of connecting to ourselves. So that's why we introduce food in a way that it's quite unconventional, and the approach of sexuality, like merging the two. And yeah, this is how it started.
And Alina, what about you? Can you also add something?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, so Clara said all of the important things, right? And that in a way, we didn't start on the basis of food, right? We started as wanting to create the tantric space that we would like to attend ourselves. And then we're both foodies. So the moment that we started talking about food, it kind of grew in the space that it was taking in our conversation. And then we realized that food is actually, you said that it's something very new to you and your project. Well, it seems to be a bit new to the world as well, right? Like we get a lot of feedback from people like, that makes so much sense, and I have never thought about it before, right? And the beauty of it is that it makes a lot of sense, but it also is super aligned with the tantric kind of principles, which are, in a nutshell, that in order to connect to the divine, to the ecstatic, to is to connect to more deeply with what is around us. And so whatever is like part of our lived reality is a tool for us, and food as something that starts as outside of us and then sort of merges and becomes part of us is just the most perfect archetype of something that can facilitate that.
Okay, I see. I starting to get some input, and now I really would like to ask. So, what? How does Wefeast work? So, what kind of event would actually you do in whatever? I don't know how deep you can go, probably of privacy for the participants, I don't know, but more or less how a Wefeast event work.
Yeah. I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it starts way before the event in that we curate all of our participants through an application process. So everybody, there's about 28 participants in one weekend, and everybody goes through the same application process. And then people come together, and it's one weekend so far. And we kind of guide people through a journey of self-exploration throughout the entire day of Saturday. And so there's different workshops that we propose based on the principle that before we can connect to other people, we first have to connect to ourselves, right? And so we do that with meditation and dance and consent exercises and connection games, and use food all throughout the day, both as a metaphor and plenty of like food puns and jokes, as well as a medium to actually do these exercises, through the food. And we don't want to disclose too much, perhaps, but Clara, you want to say something about the dinner part?
Yeah, but first, yeah. The dinner part is actually like a poetic and quite eccentric and unique experience where people are invited to be deprived of one sense and to really explore food in a way that we don't explore it in our day-to-day life. It's the same principle that we want to introduce for our approach to sexuality as well, and like to tantra as well. That to really create like a space where people can explore their like relationship to food and sexuality in a way that it's like unconventional. And so at night it's really an exploration where we rediscover food and through the lens of emotions also, and yeah, in a very like primal way somehow, because food and sexuality are really linked. It's really instinctive, and it's also like to the pleasure of like food orgasms or orgasms. They trigger the same reward system in the brain, and so you can have the same ecstatic experience when you eat food or when you have like some encounters. So yeah.
Okay, I see. And then
and maybe like to answer the question about like how deep people want to go, like it's something that we don't like. With Alina, it's really important for us that we don't force an experience on people, and we're not gonna say, okay, so we know the truth about how you should eat or how you should experience sexuality. We really like provide all the ingredients and the experience, and people take it from the space that they are at that moment. And they go, to answer your question shortly, they go as deep as they want to go in that moment.
I think you mentioned something I wanted to ask you, because probably I was imagining also through your website, and actually we will put in the description. I think I was imagining there is also a lot how with senses is perceived food. So you said about how you eat, for example, you were mentioning. So I was imagining it's also a lot related to the senses, the smell, the touch, again, the process of consuming. So yeah, I just wanted to know more and see also what do you think is kind of replicable from your work outside, for example, this specific event, that okay, you have people that go through a process of selection, so they are there, they are ready to probably also get out of their comfort zone. But for example, how you think can be applicable in other contexts, a different way to approach to the food? I don't know if it's clear, my question. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny. Thank you for bringing up sensuality, because it's obviously very much at the core, and then maybe so obvious to us at this point that we don't even sort of mention it in the first place. But it's when people, one thing we can say is that people don't use any cutlery or plates during the event. So it's really the idea is to merge with the food using the senses, and to become much more aware of the process of eating and what you are eating, and to slow that process down. And we can make a kind of comparison to what kind of food do we eat and how do we eat it, like how consciously do we eat. Do we eat junk food, just like something really quick to be productive, to like fill ourselves with nutrients and then go about our day, and is food just like a survival kind of hassle almost, right? Or do we really take time to select the food and to prepare the food and to cherish the food and to consume the food and be really, really present with it and connected with it? And that's something that really, for us, we often think that there's a strong correlation at the very least between how we have sex and how we eat, actually. And that, of course, extends to many, many other areas of life. And so, eating in this way of like consciously eating in our day-to-day lives, that's something that's really accessible to anyone, regardless of whether or not they're open to like coming to a sex positive event with a bunch of strangers for a weekend, which is, of course, we realize like a high bar.
So I can, okay, I'm trying, I think I'm having a bigger picture now. Like, for example, you mentioned something very interesting. Yeah, I never thought the correlation between how you consume, also how people eat and how people experiencing sexuality. There is somebody who likes to be fast and intense and strong, and somebody needs to take time and take. So that's a very interesting, very interesting inputs to reflect on.
Yes.
And also, I wanted to ask, also in a wider level, connected. And first of all, I wanted to ask from how long you're hosting these events, or you already mentioned.
We started the project in 2020 and we had like everything ready for that year, but like COVID happened and we couldn't do anything. And so we started our very first event in March 2022. So 1 year ago. And since then we have done 5 events and our next 2 are set for June.
Okay, nice. And yeah, I wanted to ask what if you noticed, and what did you notice? What is the impact on the people that were there present? Like how you think exactly these experiences impact their way in general to live their sexuality or their food habits. I don't know. I can just ask.
That's a really, really hard question because as it's very important for us, like as we said, like not to force an experience. So we're not gonna say, okay, if you come to our event, you're gonna redefine your relationship to food, or you're gonna learn something when you're gonna teach you anything. So people really like cherry pick the thing that serves them in that moment. But what we can say in that case, what we wish to is that people maybe like slow down in the way that because there is so much like depth hidden in in slowness. So when, for example, you cut something, you cut a vegetable, you prepare food, and like all this preparation process when we cook anything can be associated to foreplay, and like how like you can relate to that can also have an impact. So like if people after that like slow down a little bit and as Alina said, like are more conscious about how they eat and why, and like what emotion are maybe linked to that, and how they can like merge the two, it would be really amazing. And also like maybe like creating like some pockets of intimacy and connection, like connection with ourselves, connection to others, and rediscover something really like existential with ourselves and our relationship to food and sex.
Yeah, I love that because it's really about this reconnection, right? Like sometimes we talk about Wefeast as kind of what is our mission. Like sometimes we talk about it in terms of kind of emulsifying sensuality back into self-development, and self-development has become so often like a very kind of rationalistic kind of productivity sort of mindset thing, and it's really missing the sensual aspect, right? But like what that means is really like so often we hear from people, that like, wow, I've connected to like part of myself. I've met again the part of myself that I've completely forgot that was even inside of me, right? And like maybe the last time that we met was like when I was a child, right? And so it's really not
more playing part.
like like this kind of vitality and the vibrance and the curiosity, and it's so beautiful because it's like so often less about like, oh, I've learned this new thing, like sure also, but really like I've unlearned or deconstructed some of the things that were actually holding me back from like feeling myself, recognizing myself in my core.
Oh, this is so interesting. I really would like to be able again to just throw food on myself and enjoying it without, oh my God, the clothes or whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
Right.
Just playing is so important. Also, like from our chef perspective, because we have like really two brilliant, really two brilliant vegan chefs, and so this is also an opportunity to make people, because all the people who come to the event are not necessarily vegan, so it's also like part of our mission to make them realize how like tasty and juicy and surprising, and to surprise people with how vegan food can be rich. And so this is also really like, yeah, really great to be on this path to introduce like a landscape of plant-based edible poetry to our participants.
Yeah, that's actually, I think I wanted to mention at the beginning, but talking about other things I forgot, which is all your activities is all vegan.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to ask, but you already answered, if participants to Wefeast, they also have to cook food? No, actually you have chefs, as you were mentioning, and it's correct, right?
It's correct for now, but we are working on future formats where that will also be.
Okay, you're planning something more. Okay, actually we can also add the contacts of the chef who needs a nice vegan chef. We can add their contacts in the descriptions, and I think I can let you go now. So I think our conversations were touching all the aspects, and I want to thank you again for being here with us today. And again, you will find in the description of the video and in the post all the links to get in contact with Clara and Alina. So whoever is crossing Berlin, get in contact with them, and you hopefully, if there are seats free, because I see the events are pretty full booked now. So hopefully there is a seat free and you can join Wefeast with Clara and Alina. Thank you again.
Thank you, Paco.
And see you for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.